Hey guys, in this tutorial we're going to explore how you can download materials from the Indigo website and apply them to objects in your iClone scene. And then we're going to talk a little bit about lighting and applying shaders to your objects in your scene and lighting. And then we're going to talk about how you can embed all these Indigo materials to your iClone project, or else you can save the entire Indigo project with all of its materials and everything as a pigs file. We'll talk more about that later on. So this is the scene that we have in iClone here, just your basic simple scene. There are no shaders applied. Everything is currently at auto convert. And currently what I like to do, I like to use emissive lighting for my scene, just to give you a heads up here. So if I zoom up a little bit here, we have a spotlight and we have an emissive light. So this box right here, if I go into my Indigo tab, this box is set to base emission of 40,000, a slightly yellow tan tone of light there. And to simulate that in iClone, I've used a spotlight. So I have the spotlight here, and my spotlight values, multiply 1.2, and it has a very wide angle. So this is just a good way to, simulate the kind of emissive light. I find just, align it to your emissive light. You can use the align tool right here, just to give you a heads up on that. It's a nice way to simulate your emissive light. So let's go ahead and give this a render in Indigo. Now, with my Indigo render, my spotlight is disabled. I'll show you more about that in just a bit, but I just want to show you what we're working with here. You can see we have your basic scene. Everything's white, and the environment looks a little sterile. She's just kind of sitting in this, maybe like a mental hospital. Very, very high-class mental hospital with white walls and a sofa and everything like that. What we're going to do is we're going to spice up this scene a little bit. We're going to add some materials that we download from the Indigo website and have a lot of fun with it. And we're going to apply some different shaders as well. Alright, so let's get started. The first thing we want to do is we want to apply some material to our scene from the Indigo material database. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to my floor. I currently have a pure white floor. What I'm going to do is go to my Indigo tab, and then we need to go down here to use IGM material and select our online material database. And what that'll do is that'll load up the Indigo Renderer online material database. You can see we have tons of material here. They're all categorized on the left-hand side. We have ceramic, gemstones, glass, etc., etc. What I want to do is select the wood category, and I want to find a nice wood for my floor. So I'm going to go down all the way to the bottom here to wooden floor. We have this nice dark hardwood there. I'm going to select that. You can see all the ratings over here and some comments and instructions. I'm just going to go ahead and download this, and that'll download to my download folder. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to download some stuff for my sofa later on. Let's just go back to iClone first of all, and let's apply this wood to our wooden floor. Now the way we do that is, again, in Indigo, what we want to do is just select open right here, and we can select that wooden floor. I have a couple other materials I'm going to apply later, but just select the open wooden floor right there, and you can see the spotlight is disabled like I mentioned before. What I'm going to do is just give this a quick render, and we can take a look at my beautiful new hardwood floor. So in Indigo, you should be able to see the nice hardwood floor planks just along the ground there. And there we go. So it looks a lot nicer than the plain white stuff that we had before. We get a nice warm look from this hardwood floor. Very little specular reflection off of it. It looks like a fairly rough surface. Again, if you want it to be more reflective, you can adjust the IOR and the exponent values. And we have more on that in other tutorials. Let's go ahead and move to the sofa now, because you see the sofa looks pretty plain. In addition, the edges of the pillows and everything look a little bit stiff, so we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Let's go over to our sofa right here, where we have funky-haired Heidi sitting, and I'm going to do the same thing for the sofa. So I need to go into my hierarchy here, and we have the sofa. And currently in the modify, or in the materials tab right here, we just have this sofa diffuse 1 has nothing on it, and diffuse 2 has the material on the bump map. If you look closely, you can kind of see the bump map on the material there. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and download some stuff from the website again. So I'm just going to go back to Explorer here. We can just go back to our main categories. And we're going to go to leather, because leather sofas are the coolest. So we're going to download this button leather right here. I'll just go ahead and download that, and then back. And then what I want to do is download this age 10 leather, and that's going to be for our pillows there. So we're going to have age 10 leather pillows. It's going to look kind of cool. So let's go back into iClone here, and I want it to apply. So I have my sofa selected, and make sure you have the right material selected. You can see currently this material is diffuse 1. If you can recall, diffuse 1 has nothing on it. So what we want to do is apply to diffuse 2 right here. Again, you can use the picker tool right here to pick that. You can do the same thing in Indigo, just pick it, and you can see it'll switch to diffuse 2. And then what I want to do is go down and open up that, where is it here? Oh, it's the leather one right here. Okay, you can't see a difference in iClone. But then let's go ahead and do the pillows as well. So I'm going to shift and select all the pillows. And then in my materials up here, I'm going to select the first one, shift select all of those, and do the same thing. We're going to load up the aged tan leather right here. So let's give that a quick render and see what it looks like. So in this project, you'll be able to see the nice reflection. We got a nice leather sofa. Again, it looks a bit aged because we have those buttoned materials on it. And what we can do is we can change the way that this material applies to the sofa using Subdivision. But currently, you can see everything looks pretty decent right now. Or maybe our sofa is a little bit edgy as we get into like the 30-second time frame here. You can see the edges of or the surface, the texture of the surface of the leather there a little bit better. You can see it's a little bit big. So what we want to do is I'm just going to go ahead and stop this. And what we're going to do is we're going to use Subdivision on these different objects in my iClone scene here. Not Subdivision in iClone, but Subdivision in the Indigo renderer. So what we're going to do is first select the sofa. And in the Indigo tab again, I'm going to go down, rather up I guess in this case, to the Normal and Subdivision section right here. And we currently have the sofa mesh selected. I'm going to change this from Smooth Normal, which is what it normally is. And we're going to use Subdivision Smooth and High. What that's going to do is that's going to subdivide, very similar to the real-time surface smoothing that we have over here. You know, if you select the real-time surface smoothing, you'll have that. Again, Control R, I can go to my wireframe mode and see the result right there. And if I just select a pillow, for example, maybe this pillow, there we go, that one right there, and we use the real-time surface smoothing, that's what it's going to look like. So it's going to kind of smooth out the surface, but we're not going to use the iClone surface smoothing, we're going to use the Indigo Subdivision. So let's just Control R this sofa back, and we're going to select all the pillows again, and do the same thing for the pillows. Select all the objects, and we're going to use the Subdivision Smooth on those ones high as well. And let's go ahead and give that one a quick render. Now pay attention when we do render this to the surface of the leather sofa in particular, because the surface of the leather sofa is going to be a little bit different. The material is going to apply a little bit differently to the surface. And if you wait for a minute, you'll be able to see that we have more detailed material texture on the surface of this leather sofa. And notice that the pillows are quite a bit softer as well, so they're a lot more smoothed out. If we just wait for another few seconds, we'll see that everything looks a lot better than it did normally. And you can already see sort of a little bit of texture here. You don't see those big leather crevices in the leather there. You can see it's a bit more condensed, I guess, the texture is, especially up here along the specular area right here. We'll just let that render for a minute. And what I'm going to do is go back into iClone, and you can see how the pillows in iClone are fairly kind of like messed up. Very edgy along the edge there. They're very low poly. Again, if I go back to Indigo, this should be on the next round right now. You can even see the detail on the specular highlights. The aged leather is really working well, and this result is kind of more what we're looking for right here. So that's pretty cool. We'll just go ahead and stop that right now. We'll have a final render later on. And what I want to do now is apply some substance materials to my wall. We'll see how those substance materials render in iClone. So let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit. And this is just my scene. You can see from far away. Got a couple trees in the background. I'm just going to select this wall right here, and we're just going to go to our materials. And I have the substance power pack, so I'm going to select the architecture and street. I believe we have some bricks in here. Yep, there we go. And I like this brick wall 01. So I'm just going to apply that. And you can see it applied in a really weird way. And that's because the mapping over here, if we go to the Modify tab, the mapping over here, if I select my material, and go all the way to the bottom, the UV mapping we set to planar, and what I want to do is select it to change it to box, and I want to change it to a line on the Z-axis, and just select apply. And you can see we have a nicer result right there. That's much nicer than before. Normally it won't do that, but I was messing around with the UV values before, just to kind of give you an example of what could happen, if you have that situation. So you'll have to mess around with the different UV types and the different alignments, and maybe even the tiling as well. So we'll do the same thing to the other wall right here. Just by that, you can see the same result. You can see you get a little bit of brick along the inside of the window right there. But again, we just want to go again to box, align to the z-axis, and apply that right there. And that's pretty much, mapping, UV mapping your materials. And you definitely want to, get the hang of that. You can mess around with all these settings down here, and you just want to apply those after you're finished. Let's focus on the glass objects in our scene now. So what I want to do is select my table first of all. So we're going to take a look at the table really quick here. Again, we need to go into our hierarchy here. Make sure we have the table selected. Indeed we do. And materials, I'm just going to go up here, and you can see this is the glass surface of our table. We can increase or decrease the reflection value right here. And these are the legs of our table right here. They have some reflection values of their own. So those ones are pretty strong right there. And what I want to do is just give these tables a specular shader. Specular glass shader rather, to be more specific. Let's go into Indigo, the Indigo tab here, and I'm going to go assign Indigo shader, and I'm going to use this Specular Glass version 2. Now it simulates crystal clear tinted glass material, which is pretty much what we're looking for in this glass table. So I'm going to select apply, and that's fine and dandy, so we have that all taken care of. And then what I'm going to do is focus on this wine glass as well. So you can see this wine glass, the reflection of our table is pretty strong. We can't even see the stem of the wine glass. But what I'm going to do, we can actually take care of that if I want, because we're not using that shader anymore. Let's go to the table, and we go to our modify and our glass. We can just take it all the way down. Oh, that's the diffuse. Take our strength down. That helped a little bit. Not really. Okay, so anyways, we're going to focus on our wine glass right here. So what I want to do is for the wine glass, we have the velvet material, which is the red material inside. You can see the diffuse color is red right there, and we have a little bit of reflection. And what I want to do is just go ahead into Indigo, and the glass is right here, and the velvet one is actually the wine inside of the glass. We're going to apply the same glass specular shader to both of these, and I'm just going to select this one here as well, and we can just double click over here. Now we've assigned these both transparent values, but what I want to do is select the velvet one and increase the precedence a little bit. That's going to make it sort of like ice in water. It's going to make it more apparent. It's not going to have much of a difference, but we'll just increase that a little bit right there. And then what I want to do is go ahead and give this a quick render. We should have a nice glass of wine, hopefully, on top of a nice glass table. And when Indigo loads up, you can see, oh, okay, cool. We got some nice stuff going on here. The glass, it's decidedly less light going on than the light that we have from our spotlight. Maybe we want to take the value down on our spotlight here, but we have this nice glass of wine right here. Maybe I want to increase the brightness on that. We'll just increase the film ISO temporarily here in Indigo, just so we can see it a little bit better. And you can see the material in the wine is fairly transparent. What I want to do is maybe try and find that material in the wine here. So we can go into our materials over here, and let's try and find that material. Velvet, there we go. So velvet right here. This is the velvet medium right here. And what I want to do is go into my absorption. So again, velvet medium. I go into my absorption. If I go back here, it'd just be the velvet. And I can go into the medium here. I want to go into my absorption tab right here, or absorption swatch, and we can change the color of this, to something like a purple or something like that. And if we increase the gain, we'll have much more of an apparent look. So I'm going to increase the gain to about 5. And you can see then we have this really dark looking weird purple potion color right here, which we probably don't want. We probably want something a bit of a deeper green, because this is a complementary color to the red. So again, we have very purple. I'm not very good at this. Maybe something like the greenish yellow, and then we'll increase the gain to something like 7 maybe. All right, we have this mysterious purple drink, this mysterious Harry Potter potion. And the cool thing about the cool thing about the specular V2, specular transparent or specular glass V2 shader rather, with a transparent value, is you can actually have a medium. So this is the medium right here, like I mentioned, and with the medium, you get a much stronger value where the medium is thickest. So around here is where we're going to have the thickest medium. And around the edge right here is where we're going to have the thinnest medium. So you can actually see through it quite well over on this area over here. And in the thick of the material right here is where it's the darkest. So this is a very accurate, specular glass shader right here. And this is a good value to have, or rather a good tool to have if you're trying to get accurate reflections on water and everything like that. Stuff inside of a glass, or in this example, some kind of weird purple substance. Again, you can see the nice, reflections down here. The light is kind of, refracting through the stem of the glass here and everything like that. That's kind of cool what we have right there. Let's go ahead and just stop that and go back to iClone. And let's just do the same thing to the windows, just so we can have, glass on the windows there as well. This is what we have in iClone. So we have like semi-transparent values. If I go to my modified panel, we have, the diffuse, which is, 50% opacity. If we can increase or decrease the opacity right there. That's just a, kind of a cheat way to simulate mirrors in iClone. Again, what we can do is just go to our Indigo tab again, assign Indigo shader. Let's just assign the specular glass one. And here we want to choose architecture glass. I want to make this transparent and single face, which is just going to make the medium a little bit thicker. And architecture glass just makes it so that it's a single pane of glass. We have more other tutorials that go into more detail on that. Let's go ahead and this one do the same thing. Indigo, assign the Indigo shader, specular glass, and transparent architecture glass, single face. And we should be good to go. Let's just double check our wine glass to make sure that we have the same values on that one. So again, transparent. Yes, for our velvet we have transparent on. We don't want architecture glass because that would make it very thin. So I think we're pretty good with our wine values and everything like that. Let's just go ahead to this piece of artwork as well. I'm going to assign the values to this one as well, artwork right here. I just downloaded a couple quick materials before, so we can go to our online material database. And I think for the top here, or for the bottom, we had this aluminum dirty. And for this little part on the top, we had the rusted metal. I think that should work fine. All right, so let's move on to the lighting from our lamp here. What we can do is take a look at our light right here. This is our emissive light. Again, the emissive light is about 40,000. Let's take a look at our scene and see if this looks okay. But before we do that, I'm going to select our floor lamp here. So again, if you're familiar with the light tool, this is a light tool that's included in iClone. You can find it in content, props, and there's light tool somewhere down here. Yep, there we go. And the floor lamp right here. So if I'm going to go back to the scene tab here. And in the floor lamp, you can see we have a spotlight. If I make the spotlight visible there, you can see it right there. If I turn off the spotlight, that's pretty much the only result it's having in iClone. So I'm just going to turn that off. We can even just take the spotlight and delete it. And we have the floor lamp. So let's take a look at the floor lamp's texture right here. If you go to material, we have a bulb. We're not going to worry about the bulb right now, but we do have this light glow on the outside. And we have the lamppost, which you don't have to worry about. We're going to focus on this light glow, and we're going to create an emissive light using a stronger glow map. You can see currently we have this glow map, which is a substance texture, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bake this. This one's fairly low. You can increase the strength of this, but actually the color is quite low as well. What I want to do is just double click this map, and I'm going to use the nice bright glow map from our iClone scene right here. We can increase the strength all the way to maximum. That's going to be quite a nice light in our scene. And it's also going to create a nice reflection off of our architecture glass as well. So let's go ahead and render this from maybe a distance so we can kind of see the overall lighting of our scene. Something like this should be okay, I think. And let's go ahead and give that a render. And let's see how the glow map from our lamp and the emissive light from on top of our scene work together. So again, here we have the glow map is doing quite a good job over here. It's even reflecting off the table right here. So we have it reflecting off the specular glass material, or shader rather, on the table, and even reflecting off the windows. One problem with the windows is it looks apparently like we also selected the windowsill of the window as a glass transparent as well. So we kind of have this ghost-like appearance of a windowsill over there. Let's go ahead and fix that right away. I'm just going to go ahead and select my window right here, and in Indigo, let's make sure that we, over here we have the frame. So the frame we accidentally selected as specular glass, you can see right here. Let's just assign that to auto convert. And again, this one over here will do the same thing. Mesh frame, Let's assign it as auto convert, and that should fix it. And let's give this a quick render and see if our lighting situation is ideal. Let's maybe try and get a closer angle. Something like this I think would do really well, because we want to pay attention to the reflection of the light off of our glass table and our windows. And we can also take a look at our cool piece of artwork there, the textures we have on that artwork. All right, so I think the lighting from our lamp is fairly decent, and the lighting from above is fairly decent as well. And you can see we now have the window sills that appear again, and you know the lighting from our the reflection off of our table is quite nice. We just got to give that a minute or two to render. So what I'm going to do during that time is I'm going to take a look at the depth of field. We're going to create a nice depth of field here. So what I'm going to do is maybe just get a nice perspective, maybe somewhere like this. Yeah, somewhere like this would be fine. And what I want to do is, focus the camera on our funky-haired Heidi over there. So maybe something like this. I'm not very good at these things. Let's just go ahead right there, and I'm going to select something in my scene, go to Modify, and use the U hotkey. That's going to load up our camera parameters. And I'm just going to activate depth of field, pick a target. Let's pick funky-haired Heidi right there. And our focus range we can change to something like 150, something really small. So we get this nice, blurred out object in our glass of wine in the front right there. Everything's kind of blurred out except for this distance plane right here. And then we can go ahead and give this one a quick render and see what it looks like in Indigo. Let's go back to our first one first. Okay, that's looking okay. I think the lighting looks fine and dandy. We get the nice reflective light off of, our wine glass. The wine looks a little bit light. Maybe it's like non-alcoholic wine or something like that. Again, I couldn't quite get that color right. But we have the nice reflection off of the glass, and again, this is the single layer glass as well, and you can see the result. It reflects fairly well, and we're just loading up the second one here now. Let's take a look at what our depth of field looks like. Now again, keep in mind that your Indigo, your iClone camera length, your focal length is going to be a little bit different than in Indigo, but you can see we get this nice result right here, and our glass of wine and our piece of artwork, whatever that is. It looks like a piece of workout equipment or something, but that stuff is blurred off in the foreground right there, and it's starting to look quite nice. But again, you may want to mess around with the camera. You can go to the camera right here and adjust all the focal lengths and everything like that to get your ideal situation going on. I'm just going to go back into iClone here right now. And what I'm going to show you how to do now is embed all of these Indigo materials into your iClone project. So you can do that as well. Let's just go and create a new camera just to move around with. Again, we don't want depth of field on this one. Let's just go ahead and select everything that has a Indigo material on it, such as the floor, for example. So if I double click the floor and I go into Indigo right here, we have this little option down here, right here under Use IGM Material to embed IGM. And what that's going to do is that's going to embed this IGM material into your iClone project. So if you're sharing your iClone project with other people, you don't have to worry about the Indigo material not being there because you can embed it like this, and that's all fine and dandy. So that's really all you have to do. You just select that button right there, and it'll embed it into your project, and there's no longer a path right there. And then when you load it up on a separate computer or something, you'll still have that material. Now, keep in mind that will make your iClone projects quite a bit bigger, but that's how you can embed it as well. Now, if you want to, embed your Indigo, all of the stuff in your Indigo project, you can do that as well. Let's try another, scene, something like this. And all we have to do right now is just go to Export down at the bottom. What I'm going to do is we're going to export this scene. We can change from bidirectional to path tracing, I think, just to get a faster render. Now, what we're going to do is this is going to export everything in our scene. Let's go back to our preview view there. And we're going to just go ahead and select Export. And we're going to save this to the desktop Indigo scene file. And I'm just going to go ahead and call this, test. We'll just call it test for lack of a better name. And save that to our desktop. While this is saving, let's just go and check our other renders here. So this one turned out, quite well, still rendering. We got a nice reflection. Again, that glass, the wine glass in the foreground is going to need quite a bit more rendering. I might be able to see it a little bit better in this next round. But let's go ahead and take a look at this one. This one looks quite nice. I think we're doing well right there. Let's go ahead and just stop that and close it. And wait for this one. That'll take a little bit longer to render that glass in the foreground there. But let's just close these down for now and go back to our desktop here. And then we have that test right here. So what we can do, we currently don't have Indigo running. I just double click this and it'll start rendering that scene. Now keep in mind that when you export it, it'll export as an IGS file right here, so Indigo scene file. And you have your test meshes in a separate folder right here. You can see all these mesh files that, they can range in values from 7 megabytes to a few kilobytes, depending on your scene. And if we go to test images right here, you can see these are all the materials as well that are included in our scene. Even Heidi's eyeballs are in there as well. Now if you want to consolidate all this into a single file, back in Indigo what we can do is let's just stop this for now. And let's go to File, Save Scene As, and you can save this as a packed Indigo scene file or a pigs file. So we'll just call this one pigs test and go ahead and save this. And that'll take a minute to save. We'll just close this down. And then you can see we have this pigs test right here. I can take this to any folder I want. I can take it to the Indigo demo folder, for example. Load that up and load in pigs test right here. You can see it's 79 megabytes. Let's just go ahead and load this one up. So it's away from its root folder. If we just go ahead and load this one up, everything will still be embedded. So it'll embed from the same perspective, and everything's good to go right there. So that's the way you can, if you're on a laptop or something and you want to, transfer it to your computer, your desktop computer to render faster, or pass it to your friend to get him to help you render, or you're paying for a render farm, doesn't really matter. Pigs is the way to go. And again, for iClone projects, if you have Indigo materials that you've downloaded that your friends or other computers don't have, then you'll want to make sure you embed those files as well, like I showed you before. So I guess that's about it for this tutorial, guys. Thanks for watching, and hopefully you learned how to download your materials, embed them in your project, and create a cool looking scene with all sorts of different techniques. So thanks for watching again, guys, and take care.